Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pommy Ponders. Just waiting for the legend that is Paolo. He's just sorting his computer out. But welcome to another episode of Pommy Ponders. We've got a real fun-packed show with a good mate of mine. Remember, the record is 6 to be in the real reason we're here, AFL charades. So let me know you're in here. Paolo will be here any second. But obviously, let's talk about this while we wait for Paul. Is Vic bias a real thing? So, chat, let me know. Because you know what? As a Pom, I suppose I'm technically a Victorian, aren't I? I suppose, because that's where I live. But, like, I hear this a lot, Vic bias. So I'd love to hear from interstaters. I see... G'day, guys. How are we doing? I see Quinton in there. I know he's from Queensland. Apologies if some of you are not in Queensland or you are somewhere else. But is that really a thing? Like, because it got me thinking, and I had to chat to a few of my mates back home in the UK. Is there like a north-south bias? Now, that is something that we joke about a lot, that there is a south bias, usually when Arsenal win the title. So is that a bias? Is there really a bias? Do you know what I mean? Oh, sorry, QD. You're in Queensland, though, aren't you? What am I thinking? Someone else? Have I just totally lost it? Do you know what I mean, mate? They're usually late for the title race. Hey, yeah, spot on. But do we think there's a Vic bias? And my question from the Vic bias is that does that affect anything in the AFL league? Do you know what I mean? Like, because I understand, I will say this, I think there's a Vic bias in the media, but I understand why there is a Victorian bias in the media in the terms of that, genuinely speaking, out west, apart from out west, probably football isn't the core sport. Queensland, you've got rugby. New South Wales, you've got rugby. But I don't think it affects results or anything football related. And one of the arguments I saw was actually in reference to Gold Coast's list and all the players they've lost. And I think it's not so much a Vic bias. It's because that's where the bigger games are held. The MCG, the bigger history, the bigger teams. So I think that's naturally appealing. To me, that would be like someone from a mid-table club in the UK complaining players go to Real Madrid because it's a bigger club, bigger opportunity, bigger thing. I agree with you, James. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I think there's intercity and inter-suburb rivalries. I think that's healthy. I think that probably exists all over the world as well. But sometimes when I hear the Vic bias, it comes across that they think there's like some kind of secret group of Victorians and we're all here. Do you know what I mean? That we're against interstate football clubs. And I don't really see it. I don't really see it. Paul's on his way. He's just rebooting his computer, but I don't really see it. So it's an interesting facet because I just don't believe that there is a Victorian bias. I understand that there's a lot of focus on Victoria, but I don't think you are hindered being a Western Australian club or a Northern New South Wales or a Queensland club in the Victorian sphere. I don't think that comes into it. The only thing I think that comes into it is that probably all the history is here. So I would say if I was a young New South Wales kid, I'd probably want to play for Carlton, Collingwood, Essendon, Richmond, one of these big fabric of the football club, because there's 90,000, 100,000 people every weekend. I'd say that is, but I wouldn't say that's a bias. I'd just say that that's because I'd say as an Australian immigrant, let's say, I would be quite happy playing for West Coast Eagles or Fremantle. I think magical stadium, vivacious fan base, even the South Australians, Adelaide or Port, that would be attractive to me. As a Pom, that would be attractive to me as well. But I could understand, I think if I came here knowing what I know now and I was born here, I would want to play for a Victorian club. One of the big ones as well. One of the big ones. I think that's it. Yeah, you see, this is where it comes from, Adrian. It does come from there, but I mean, maybe I want to know if I'm naive because I'm here. Because I'm here, I don't see a Victorian bias, and I certainly don't see a Victorian bias in the terms of like it affects the competition that you couldn't get by and you couldn't produce wins. That's interesting, that, Adrian, because I wondered if that's where it stemmed from. Do you know what I mean? Like, if that's where it stemmed from. But I agree with you. Like, you look at the history of the South Australian clubs and the WA clubs, they've got historics, real big lineage, just not in the AFL. But it's still, like, honestly, I think, for me, if I couldn't play for Carlton, like, let's just say I was 18, and let's just take loyalties away, I'd want to play for Carlton, Collingwood, Richmond, or Essendon, the big followings. Or if I was going interstate, I'd want to play for the Eagles or Adelaide. Like, they're the teams that I'd want to play for. Because they're big clubs. I think it's the same in the UK. You want to play for the big Premier League, big clubs. You want to play for your Man Uniteds, your Man Cities now, your Arsenals. You want to play for them big clubs. Yeah, I think this is another good point as well. Like, when Paul gets here, he's just rebooting his computer. I did want to talk about, there was an idea that was actually passed to me the other day, and I really like this idea about Tasmania. When they come in, their first year, they play 19 home games. What does everyone think about that? That everyone has to travel to Tasmania. I actually was like, that is a really good idea to get them into the game and get the fans going. And I don't mind that, because I think a trip to Tassie would be pretty grouse. I mean, I might not do a watch along for that, to be honest. Cob Loaf, mate, you can't. I'm a firm believer that you don't pick your teams pick you. Do you know what I mean? I think the teams pick you. So my question to you is, do you regret your decision? Do you know what I mean? You might think long and hard. Trust me, as a Man United fan at the moment, every weekend I question my life choices, because I'm like, I'm not here at home. So it doesn't really matter if I watched another team's games religiously. But it's just in you, isn't it? Sometimes it's so far in you, you can't get it out. So, hey, Frankie says, Sags, good day to you, my brother. How are you? Which is where the grand final is, that and more trouble. You see this to an extent I understand, but to me, I think I'm probably the final stage of the G. I do think sometimes that the interstate clubs get pushed to the Marvel more than the G. And if I was a football club, I'd probably want to play at the G. But do you know what I mean? It's one of them things, though, isn't it? Like, you know what you're signing up for. I'd always judge this a little bit like if you joined the army and then you got there and you were like, oh, fucking hell, I didn't realize they shot at us. Like, that's it. Here he is, my mate, my main man, Paul. We were just starting talking about, and you're a man who's in the media, so you're probably a good person to ask this.
Yes.
There's a is Vic bias a real thing?
To a point, yeah, I think so. But I just think it's, for me, I think it's at a point where it's not because people are purely focusing on Victoria. It's just because where all the teams are based. Isn't that just?
No, but,
do you know what I mean?
Do you think? No, but like, I think there's a big bias with you guys, the media, but I understand that because, like you say, all the clubs are Victorian. So if you wrote about Gold Coast Suns, probably 4 people give a shit.
Yeah, it's where the market is.
But I don't think that sometimes when I hear WA fans talk, particularly, they make it out like the league is set up to favour Victorians. And I was saying, if I was 18, I want to play where the big money is, where the clubs are. So I think Victoria is probably your priority. Carlton, Essendon, Collingwood, 100,000 people, you're going to play at the G. But I think West Coast Eagles is attractive, massive fan base. Adelaide and Port, that's attractive. I just think the teams like Gold Coast and GWS, who have lost lots of players, it's natural. We see it in our game, soccer. If you're not going well, soon as Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man United, Arsenal knock on the door and you play for Leicester, you're like, toodaloo, boys.
Well, that's always going to be the case, isn't it? Everybody wants to be bigger and better, I think, to a point. Naturally, you have to evolve. But there is... It's all dependent on where you feel you are going to derive the most benefit. I always go by the saying that there's no greater interest than self-interest, right? And a lot of the interest with regards to the media is from Victoria, because that's where it's all situated and that's where the big market is, right? Having said that, there are massive markets now out in WA, South Australia, and they're trying to needle their way into the Queensland market as well. But the Queensland Aussie rules market has only been really up and about for the last few years. And we're talking about Victoria, who, we have teams here who have over 100 years of heritage. To quote the great Jose Mourinho, football heritage. And that's a big sell, right? It's a massive sell. So, and it's such a true saying that to those who have everything, everything will be given. To those who have nothing, everything will be taken, right? Gold Coast as a football club, for lack of a better phrase, they have nothing behind them aside from dollars to throw at players, right? And eventually that's going to wear thin because not everybody's motivated by money, right? People are to a certain point, but there has to be something intangible that's actually going to benefit you as a player and as an employee up there too. So Vic bias, is it true? Yes, but I don't think it's a malicious... It's not done on a malicious basis. It's done purely because of the demographic of the league, Pommy. It's not out of intent, I don't think. It's just because what's in front of you is what you're going to focus on. Here in Victoria is where the majority of the media is situated. Here in Victoria is where the majority of the teams are situated. The Big Four is situated in Victoria, and it just so happens to be that that's how it comes to pass from a media perspective. It doesn't mean that WA doesn't get the love. They've got one of the biggest and richest clubs in the land in West Coast. They're huge, mate. And their newspapers are front and center with Harley Reid and, how many WA newspapers report about Victoria? I'll ask you that. How many WA newspapers have Victorian football clubs on their front page? How many New South Wales newspapers have Victorian teams on their front page? How many Queensland media outlets have Victorian teams on their front page? I would say not many.
Mate, I would say the only time it happens is probably when someone like Cripps wins the Brownlow and it's a WA boy. So they can be like,
exactly,
WA boy done good.
Spot on. And there's always got to be an angle into your audience, right? Always.
And this leads me to the main point. I think you look at Gold Coast, it's no surprise to me they're doing well now because they've probably had their 2015 Carlton draft and they're all Queensland boys. Yeah. And I think that's the mistake Gold Coast made, that they should have tried to get homegrown talent, even if it was shit, because that's probably, you're an Arsenal fan. Arsenal fans get behind players like Emile Smith-Rowe, whether he's good or bad, because he's one of your own.
He's
and
it product.
Instantly gives you, look at Matt Cottrell. Matt Cottrell was shit this weekend. We all love him though, because he's one of ours.
Well, he summed it up beautifully. People don't come to the football to watch me. Yes, we do. He may think that, but because he's a Carlton man through and through, we love him.
And I think that's probably where it leads me to my next point. I asked the audience, I'll ask you, Paolo. I saw an article the other day, and they were talking about Tasmania, and I did a video on how I get them going. But someone did like their own little version of that, and they said 19 games or 23 or whatever it is, all at home for Tasmania in the first year. So every club has to travel to them. What are your thoughts of that? Because I think that is how we should be thinking of starting these people up, so they get a massive bumper load of footy in year one on their doorstep.
Yeah, and the thing is, you don't want them to be heavily relying on handouts for years and years and years and years for them to be able to survive. You want these clubs to be able to be as sustainable as possible, as early as possible. You have to fast track that kind of stuff. And I think a team like Tasmania, I don't think too many people would be complaining about traveling down there, because in the first couple of seasons, you would assume that they're going to be very difficult to create a football team that just comes in and goes bang straight away. So, but that also has to be coupled with fairness to other teams as well. We can't just hand them absolutely everything. So maybe a few more home games than any other team in the league would get. I think that's right. You know, the whole travel factor for I know it's a thing, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe because I don't travel every week like WA teams, and we're not on a plane every week. But I mean, they're looked after.
Well, mate, they're not like fucking old Dennis Bergkamp who had to hitchhike because he hated flying.
I mean, they're not on the side of the road doing that, are they? I mean, they're staying in nice hotels, and I mean, the travel can be a bit. Well, there you go, Faz. There you go.
No, I concur with Faz as well. Been to Geelong.
I like planes, mate. I like getting on planes and traveling. I enjoy it.
Mate, one of my biggest culture shocks was speaking to a player at a Carlton event and saying it must have been really tough for you being in the hubs during COVID.
Yeah.
And he responded with, fucking time of my life. Like, we had McDonald's, pizza delivery, Subway. We had pool tables, we had PlayStations. He was like literally, it was like it was a nightmare being away from your family, but
yeah,
it was better than being at home with the shit you got.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. You can almost sometimes getting away from it is actually not the worst thing, and getting away from the hustle and bustle of, especially in Victoria too, because there are so many eyes on these players as well. So yeah, Faz is right. Getting on a plane makes you feel important. See, I think that, and I don't know, maybe after a while it may become a bit mundane if you're always doing it, but I think, and I've always loved this as a sports star and as a sports fan too, I think there would not be nothing better than the away days. How good are the away days, mate? You pack your bag, you're on the bus or you're on the plane, you're traveling with your close mates for one cause to win a game. For me, I think traveling bonds a team, to be honest. And look at the teams who have won the flag in the last couple of seasons as well. Sydney got there. Sydney have won flags. West Coast have won flags. The interstate teams have been there in grand finals. Adelaide's done it. Port Adelaide has done it. So, for me, I enjoy the travel.
I always say this as well. If you break it down, the interstate teams get the same amount of home games. And I know they will counteract and go, oh, well, when Carlton play Richmond and it's an away game, that's your home ground.
Yes.
Right? I know that's what they'll say. But I do think, and this is this AFL doesn't seem to count this, but I do think the ticket allocation makes a difference. When it's Richmond's home game, you noticeably hear the decibels reduce, as opposed to when it's Carlton playing Richmond, Carlton home game, and we've got the extra 10, 15K.
Now, it's a fair point. And I think that the psychological factor that bestows upon a playing group as well, and you see it in the Premier League too. And, when the home team is in the top four up the top of the table and is the team that is expected to win, the psychological factor of the crowd presses them to ensure that they're retaining the ball, ensure that they're pressing hard, ensure that they're playing on the front foot and not sitting back. The crowd factor is huge, and especially at those small little away grounds as well, Pom, when it's tight and close and cold and the stands are caving in on you, the psychological factor is huge. I think it's something that's underestimated by a lot of us in sport. And what do our boys tell us? That they're actually telling us to the camera, your voice and your noise is important to us. It is important. It's a factor, and people will say, "Oh no, it doesn't help them kick the ball. It's not a factor in them winning games. It shouldn't be a factor in performance." Ask the players.
When people always have this argument with me, I always say, go back to being a little boy. Do you remember when your dad got you in the car after football training or soccer training or golf?
Yep.
And he just looked you in the mirror while you're in the back seat, and he goes, "You did well today, son." Like, how you felt like you were 20 men.
Yeah. Imagine 70,000 of that cheering that on. Do you know
what I mean?
I look, and this is the big thing too, is I know I keep quoting him, but he is an elite manager. Like Mikel Arteta has that light bulb moment, and he has that stupid little drawing he did, right? People think it's a stupid drawing, but it's not. It's that trinity between the energy that is exuded from the fans The passion exuded from the fans and the clarity with which the team plays creates energy. And energy is what drives you forward. Energy is what keeps the light on. Energy is what keeps life, right? When all that combines together, special things happen. And that's what we saw when the crowd got up and about against Geelong. We went on that run. When the crowd got up and about in the third quarter against GWS, the boys went ballistic. When the crowd was up and about in those finals between Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane, there was some electric football played. So don't underestimate the factor of the crowd in it too. And I think the interstate teams as well, you go to Optus Stadium, how many crowd free kicks do West Coast and Fremantle get at any given time? A lot. Crowd factor is a big thing, mate.
Mate, I went to a WA game a long time ago, and honestly, I can concur. I've never heard a crowd say ball all the fucking time. Like even if it's a legitimate handball, like honestly, like it's just ball instantly a player's touch.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell are you on about?
So to go back to your point about Tasmania, to fast track them as a football team, they need to have a big crowd behind them as much as possible at any given time in those games, right? Look at the Jack Jumpers in the NBL, right? I know it's a smaller audience, but the crowds that they were getting there, it was insane. And they've gone all the way and won it in their third season of inception. I don't know, it's a completely different sport, but the essence of it and the principle is still the same, right? So maybe the home thing for them in their first season would be something to consider. You know, it would have to be a viable option. And I would be surprised if most AFL teams knocked it back. I'd be very surprised. There'd have to be a meeting of the minds with the rest of the competition, clearly. But I think they would all be happy to allow them to have more home games than most. I think because we've never really seen that. We didn't see it with GWS. We didn't see it with Gold Coast. GWS has been far better than GC, clearly, and Gold Coast has taken its time to really, you know, and they're still struggling for crowds up there as well.
Yeah, well,
so,
I mean, that's why I think it's so important, because if you can make their fans make it a fortress, they're halfway there. 19 home games as well is going to help pay back the stadium as well a bit quicker, because that's 3 years worth of home games in a year. They fast track. One thing, though, to cover El Paso's comment, this is a POM talking here. So if I'm wrong or out of line, shoot me. I was watching the Tottenham-Arsenal game, as I'm sure Paolo was. And one thing I noticed, and I said this to Terry the other day, and he said I was right. So I'm going to get more people's opinion. Every time I've been to a game in the UK, as soon as the game kicks off, there is a raucous noise. It's almost as if it's probably the loudest before we score a goal. But there's that massive fucking roar. Come on, everyone screaming. When I watch AFL, particularly Carlton games, because I really look for it, it's like a morgue.
Yeah.
Until a goal kicks. Now, I'm not picking on the cheer squad because they do a remarkable job, but I know the cheer squad said to me, we're waiting for some energy. Where my brain goes, in the UK, like Mikel Arteta, it's our job to give them the energy. We say, here, fucking hell, this is Tottenham. Go mental, boys. Kill them from the kickoff. Why does that not happen in the AFL? Like, as soon as the ball's bounced, it's like a fucking morgue.
Is it a cultural thing? Are we as diehard and religiously fanatic with our sports clubs as they are in the UK? Having experienced firsthand this last season with Arsenal, I would say no. And I think it is a cultural thing. How you can change that, it has to be the messaging out of the club itself. And if you actually watch the press conferences from Jurgen Klopp, Mikel Arteta, Pep Guardiola, they are specifically asking the fans to bring the energy. They are almost saying it at every single press conference that they are part of. Whereas if you look at AFL, it's mentioned maybe once every now and again. It has to be directly asked by a journalist for players and coaches and management to actually refer to it. And that's where the attitude, I believe, needs to change, is that the people at the forefront of clubs need to put fan reaction, fan passion, fan noise at the forefront of what they actually deem to be true as a football club and how they are motivated intrinsically by that as well. So I think it is a cultural thing, and I think it's something that people at the helm of football clubs are not really pushing as part of their day-to-day press conferences on a constant basis. So that's where I think it needs to start. So, but again, channels like this and what we put together, it's also on us too to be able to bring the energy as well and rev everybody up. So, you know, the kickoff roar is something special, something very, very special.
Mate, I'm sure chat will back me up. On the watch along, I'm up and about 5 minutes before the bounce.
Yep.
So like, but there's 2 points here. Richie B, nerves. I do think this is an Australian thing. You guys do feel nerves before the games, where I deal with nerves by making more noise. That's how I'm, even in real life, I'm more hyperactive when I'm nervous than when I'm calm. And I do think this is it as well. This probably could be a great point as well. Because in the UK, you're sat. I mean, to me, I've been to a few AFL games. I like winding up the opposition next to me. I actually prefer it than the UK. I find it quite funny when there's some old woman eating her sandwiches and telling her teams are shit like her sandwiches. I enjoy that. I just think Australians are too nice.
No, mate, that's exactly right. We don't want to upset people. We don't want to upset people next to us because they are next to us and they can actually get to us. That's the problem. And big shout out to Lee Judges, my man from AFTV. When I told him that we sit next to opposition fans, he said, "You're having a laugh, aren't you?" He goes, "Are you serious?" I go, "Yeah." I go, in the rivalry games, you know, the Carlton, Collingwood, and the opposition fans, we are sometimes we sit next to each other. I said we have specific cheer squads. You know, they're not like a T4 or anything like that, but they are apart from each other. But opposition fans will sit with each other. He goes, "Mate," he goes, "You're having a laugh. Arsenal, Tottenham fans next to each other in a derby." He goes, "Are you kidding me?" It'd be all right.
I'd pay to watch it though. If they did do,
it's not as, like I said, it's not as religiously fanatical here as it is over in London and in Manchester and across the Midlands and across the UK. So, and that is a cultural thing. You know, that is a real cultural thing. So, and it's also too, there has been a big push from AFL to make things family friendly now, dry zones and all that kind of stuff. And whereas with football in the UK, as much as it is about family and those clubs, it's all about going with the lads, you know, going with the geezers, get to the pub pre-game, go to the game, chant your lungs out, go home, hopefully win. You know, maybe give some stick to opposition supporters on the way home as well. So there's a lot more tribalism overseas than there is here, you know.
Yeah, you know what? Last point on this, Cob Loaf makes a great one. The amount of times I've been to neutral games, right, with mates who support the team, I'm there as a neutral, and they're like, "Oh, fucking hell, Dustin Martin's about to get 100 fantasy points." I'm like, how do you know that from watching? I'm like, why are we here? Like, could be in the warm having a beer watching this.
I think technology is probably taken away from it as well. So, it's such a fascinating comparison that the UK football market compared to the Aussie rules market. They are. I'll say this. They are more alike than they are different, but the differences matter. That's what I'll say.
I do think it's a cultural thing. I think, like Faz says, Australians are too nice. I do think, even your cricket team, like the fact that you ban sledging.
Sledging anymore.
Do you know what I mean? When if you asked me before I came in here, what do you know about Australians? I was like, they don't shut up when they play cricket.
Exactly.
Like, genuinely shocked you removed probably your best trait in cricket. But it's funny. But this is the next one. I thought we've got Paolo here, so he's perfect because he's seen it come into football, and we're seeing it tentatively come into AFL. Now, I have a theory on video umpires, and this is my theory from Faz is in chat, so he's the cricket buff as well.
Yep.
I think when you start having video analysis, you make umpires or referees less willing to put their neck on the line because
Correct.
it's going to be massively scapegoated. So then you start getting incompetence because they're like, it's okay, I better not say anything because it looks less stupid than if I blow a foul and it's called back. And we're seeing it in soccer that things are just being let go now, which 5 years ago it would have been stopped and we wouldn't have had 10 minutes of football. We're seeing it definitely in AFL with goals, like the Carlton Geelong goal, how that was gone to a video referee, and then we didn't even have a camera angle. We had a camera angle of a post.
Yeah,
like
behind the ball, you couldn't see the ball.
Yeah, well, it seems to me we're now getting umpires who are starting to rely on the technology as opposed to putting the neck on the old goose and saying, chop my head. So what are your thoughts, Paolo? Do you think video refs is going to kill the game?
Yes, I do think it will because of what you just mentioned there, referees and umpires not putting their necks on the line, right? And when you have a seed of doubt with decision-making, you're stuffed, right? It's like when you're actually playing the game. The job of the coach and the job of the manager is to remove as many elements of doubt about the game as possible and give you clarity with your decision-making. The AFL is not giving any clarity to the umpiring teams that go out on the ground week to week. And this is why these mistakes are occurring on a weekly basis, right? The goal line technology in the Premier League, I think, is fine because it's black and white. It's either a goal or it's not, right? Simple as that. Fouls for penalties now, it's subjective. Offside by, I mean, what are we talking? We're talking about a hair now. They're being paid. They're being paid for a shoelace, which it's
the Coventry goal. If the guy was circumcised, it would have counted.
Exactly right. So there's and my issue is that it's going to go down the path now where they're actually going to start reviewing decisions, and I'm starting to hear this captain's call come in. I'm starting to hear that free kicks. They should have reversed this, and they should have done this, and this should have been a free kick, and it shouldn't have been a free kick. So you can't perfect an imperfect game, Pom, right? The only parts that you can perfect for me is goal line. Now, when I talk about goal line, I'm talking about whether the ball has hit the post, because you know whether a ball has hit the post. They've got the snicker. It's easy. The graph comes up, it's hit the post. It's a point. The graph doesn't come up, it's a goal. Has the ball crossed the line? Yes, no, goal, behind. Touch, that's another thing that we're delving into now. The whole ace scenario with us. Was it touched? Was it punched? I prefer referees being able to make the call with their necks on the line. If they make a mistake, it is part of the game. So be it. So be it. I'll leave it at that.
You know what? I was actually 2 points to this. So 2 years ago, the Players Association of the Golf, the PGA, they all got together and there was 2 cases where nuffies on TV had seen rules infringements and called the tournament, and they handed the shot penalties post the round, and it cost a woman a real prestigious title. Now, the Golf Association got together, they went to the powers that be, and one of them was Jack Nicklaus, an icon, who said the rules of golf were made when men were gentlemen and there was no cameras. So he was like, we rely on the honesty of the players and the sharp eagle eyes of the rules officials. And if we start changing the rules, we have to make a whole new rule book. And it's not allowed. Now, as soon as the round is finished, if you've cheated, okay, cool. We know about it after the event. And the other point, I was watching 1999 Match of the Day. And, but it changed my perspective because Alan Hansen got into an argument with Mark Lawrenson about a foul. And Alan Hansen was like, Mark, you're watching a replay. The referee had 0.2 seconds to react.
Yes.
The defender had the same time. You have watched it 5 times with a cup of tea at slow-mo to come up with that. He was like, at the time, did you think it was a foul? And Mark was like, no, I thought it was play on. And he was like, okay, shut up then. And I was like, here it is. This is how it should be. You are arguing about something that at the point it was okay. It's only because you can zoom in now and see the whites of their eyes that everything looks worse. But I reckon if we went and VAR'd a 90s game, there's probably 8 sendings off.
No one on the
Do you
field.
know what I mean? Yeah. But I was like, because people let the game go on.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think there's also this subconscious thing that it's almost as though you're not trusting the men and women out on the field to make the right call? They're not actually directly saying that, but they almost are. It's like, oh, we think you're a great umpire. You're good enough to umpire a grand final. You're good enough to umpire a game in the Australian Football League. But we think you're going to make a mistake, and we've got this just in case. To me, it just seems it's almost undermining the decisions of the referees and the umpires. That's how I see it. And I think you're right. Have the balls, have the courage to leave it to the referee and umpire to be able to call it. If they make a mistake, so be it. They're still making mistakes, even with the technology there. The technology is still making mistakes, Pommy. I mean, do you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous.
You know what? Like, me and my mate had this discussion, and I think, Paul, I think people look at this quality of the umpires. I would say refereeing in soccer and AFL hasn't got worse or better. I just think it's more tentative now. So I would be all for VAR, but they get one replay in the booth in real time, and it's like a committee, and you've got 3 umpires there, and they go, right, we get it once. If we can't make a decision, on-field stands, right? Because I think once you slow it down and stuff, the players don't have the ability to slow down 1,000 frames a second.
Exactly. It's we're seeing handballs given for. I mean, a bloke's had a ball kicked at him at 60 miles per hour when he's got his hand. He's trying to move out the way, and it's absolutely ricocheted. And what's he supposed to do? You can't do anything about it. And then we're seeing Declan Rice on the weekend kick. Who did he kick? I can't remember who he kicked for the penalty against Tottenham. Anyway, it was a penalty, right? Regardless. And then the same thing happened to Gabriel Jesus against Aston Villa back when we lost to them 1-0 at Villa Park earlier in the season. The exact same thing happened. The video assistant referee's gone and looked at it, and he's not paid a penalty. So where are we going down the subjective path, or are we going down the path of, we're going too far down the path of trying to perfect imperfect things, and it's never going to happen, Pommy. For me, I like goal line technology. I think goal line technology is fine because it's either a goal or it's not. You can get it right down to the millimeter. The referees or umpires watch goes off. It's a goal. The goalpost is there as well. As I said, you've got the snicko. It's very simple. Outside of leave it alone.
Mate, I'm with you. Mate, I'm with you. But we come to my favourite thing, and I've got an Arsenal fan who is the master of shithousery because he's got the spray tan hero that is Ben White. But I did want to talk. It's poignant with Carlton fans. So Zach Toohey kicking 3 goals. He gave it large. Now, I said at the end of the game, it pissed me off when he did it, but I loved it at the end because I love a bit of shithousery. And I think shithousery is being removed from AFL, but it's still in the other leagues. I want more shithousery.
I agree. I completely agree. We want people with more personalities, and we want players celebrating, but when they do, we drag them down, don't we? And look, you know how you stop players like Zach Toohey from doing it against you? You don't let them kick 3 goals. you don't give them the opportunity to do it. So, look, it's, when they're on your team and they do it, you love them. When they're against your team and they do it, you hate them.
Mate, I'm a big fan, like Sam Draper after the game where he did the celebration. I love stuff like that because it provokes a reaction and it gets you in the game. Like, I'm with you. I fear, when we talk about mental health of players, I'd love to see the stats since we expected them to be perfect, how mental health got worse because they are human beings. Like, I always say it, I celebrate on my children in the back garden. Do you know what I mean? Like, when Dave is not looking, I'll drop his trousers to distract him. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm a shithouse to my kids playing in the garden. Like, it's, for me, that's part of sport. If I'm playing sport, I'm winding someone up to get an advantage. Like, we need to embrace it a bit.
Fans are the definition of shithousery, aren't they? Have you seen socials? Has anyone watched and looked at socials? I want to see the day. I want to see the day where, I hope it happens this weekend, where Charlie Curnow's in a Collingwood pocket or something like that happens, and he kicks the goal and puts Carlton, 6 goals up with 3 or 4 minutes to go, ices the game and turns around and just does the Mourinho. Just, mate, how good would that? It's front page news. It's just how good.
Yeah. You know what? I did have 2 Charlie moments. I was like, how good would it be if Charlie gets a free kick and the G erupts in a way when he starts him off? Or how good would it be if Charlie just deliberately, the first contest, deliberately flops, like an exaggerated flop, like he's taking the piss? Like, he might concede the free, but how good would that be if he just flopped right in front of the cheer squad, Collingwood cheer squad? Just get them going a little bit with a little cheeky wink at them.
What about when Mark Murphy kicked the goal in the goal square back in 2012 and he did the...
Oh, yeah.
One. Mate, everybody still uses that, mate. Good.
Mate, I want more shithousery in AFL. Like, I live for shithousery.
Start a petition. Bring back shithousery.
like Ben White, absolute toffee, but fuck, God
he
love
tried
him.
to take the glove off Vicario on the weekend.
Yeah, you see, I love shit like that. Like I love shit like that. Like,
see, I love when who took Mason Cox's glasses off?
I was when it's Zarko.
Whoever, right? How good? I know people complain about, it's a medical thing. I get that, but I think that's. I thought it was great.
Yeah, but it's not like his head's gonna explode.
I know. I would love for someone to try and take his glove off on the weekend, or I hope one of our players actually walks out there with a leg pad and say, "Here you go, complete the kit, mate."
What I loved it. Wasn't it Rowan Marshall versus Sam Draper, and Sam Draper threw his shoe?
Oh, did he really? Good
on
him.
I think it was Sam Draper. Like, his shoe fell off, and then it was a boundary throw, and the umpire didn't see it. And he went to go and pick his shoe, and Sam Draper launched it across the field. And I was like, that is fucking quality. Like, I am all about that.
So am I. More of it, mate. More of it.
Yeah, spot on, Faz. Rochelle, like, I love Rochelle's celebration. Like, you've got to do what you've got to do.
Mate, exactly. The Carlton fans were giving him large. He's kicked the snag from the boundary and he's turned around and he said, shh, shut up.
Mate, I love it. I want more shit housery. But the first one, I've pressed the wrong thing. First one, we're doing trade, play, bench. This is an exciting one for you, Paolo.
Right.
Because here, you've got to make the decision of ruining someone's career. We love ruining careers on this show.
We do.
It's usually, though, when we ruin a career, it's usually, as Faz will tell you, a goalkeeper.
Okay. All right. Okay. Right. Okay. Spin the
wheel. Mate, ever since I said Mendy is the best goalkeeper in the world.
Oh, no. All right.
His career's gone downhill. So we've got Bailey Dale.
We've all had those. Bailey Dale. Okay.
Oh. Jake Lever.
Ooh. These are some big names.
Big names, big games, mate.
I love the applause after it as well.
Ooh, Nick Vlostin. So we've got Bailey Dale, Jake Lever, or Nick Vlostin.
Okay. I am... Ooh, it just depends on the scenario, doesn't it, now?
You're the list manager with no context, as we say.
The list manager with no context. Okay. I would bench Vlostin, right?
Yeah.
I would trade Lever, and I would play Bailey Dale.
Tell you what, the only person who probably disagrees with you is Beveridge, because only playing reserves for like 3 months and then comes out and has 30 and kicks 2.
Yep, that's how I'm playing that. So play Dale, trade Lever, bench Vlostin. Bang.
You see, I was with you with trade because I think Jake Lever is a melt. Like, let's be honest.
He's an intercept player, right? And I mean, it's become the flavour of AFL the last few years. There's intercept players galore everywhere, I think. So,
mate, anyone can do it. I'm telling you now. Like, if you're at home...
We turn McGovern into an intercept player, for goodness sake.
Mate, if you're at home and the teacher says your options are McDonald's, just know that there's a secret second option, be an interceptor in the AFL.
Deal.
But we're now here at AFL Charades. So the world record, right, was broken last week. Faz had the record, 5 for ages. And then out of nowhere, Ian managed to get 6. Now, this heavily relies on my ability to describe these players for you.
Yes.
So really, it's not on you, but it is. That's how we play this game. It's all on you. I don't see it until I press this. So now I've looked at it, and I can tell you, I am kind of feeling semi-positive about this.
All right. Okay. Right. What's the record? 6.
6. We've got 2 minutes.
Here we go.
Right. Okay. Right. So I'm ready when you are.
All right. Here we go.
Okay. First player, his surname is something you put on toast and
Zach
sandwiches.
Butters? Zach Butters?
Yeah, well done. 1. Second one, Mitch's brother.
Mitch's brother?
He plays for West Coast, but his brother plays for Carlton.
Mitch's brother? Jeremy McGovern?
Jeremy McGovern. Well done too. Third player, his surname is, if you were going to steal something out of someone's compartment in their trousers that they might hold a phone, you are doing something to their pocket.
Oh.
It's the past tense of what I'm doing now.
Pickett.
Yeah. First name?
Isaiah.
Okay, 3. Jesus Christ. I'm going to cheat here. The worst key forward in the history plays for West Coast and Western Bulldogs. Sometimes goes back.
Oh God. Aaron Norton.
Yeah, well done. Okay. He's the bad guy in the... His surname is the good guy's real surname, Neo's surname in The Matrix. That guy goes, Mr.
Anderson.
Yeah, first name is
Noah.
Biblical. Yeah, Noah. 5.
Listen.
Surname is... Okay, first name is Plowman's first name.
Yes.
And the surname is probably how a dyslexic spells nail.
Lockie Neal.
Yeah, we're on 6. Okay, surname is the famous guy who says, "Please, sir, can I have some more?"
Oh, God, no. What do we get? 6. We're level on the record.
Can you get it from that clue, though? Because the buzzer was there. Clayton
Oliver.
Oh, 7. There you are. New clubhouse leader, chat. Yeah, chat. Like, Aaron Norton, you tell me how you would have fucking sold that. Like, I was like, what rhymes with that?
Oh, dearie me.
I was like, what the fuck is a Norton? Like, I can't. If he was English, I could have said we used to get pissed there all the time.
You could have gone
Nortons.
You could have gone. He wore the same apparel. He wore the same apparel or wears the same apparel as Bruce Dool. You could have gone with that, maybe. Headband. Yeah, that's really double.
Where's the headband? It narrows it down. Hey, Maz.
Another word for 0.
You're good at this. 7. New clubhouse record. New clubhouse record. Well, we've got the wacky AFL X.
Okay,
so this week, Paolo had probably one of the more tough assignments, and he had to do dinners. So we're looking for, because people get confused by this, because I'm a pom, but a dinner is what you have at tea time.
Correct. Yes, correct. Yes.
So, yeah. This is, let me find my sheet.
Yep.
So we can make it look pretty. I've got too much stupid stuff on my things.
Really
What is
good,
it?
some really good ones lined up for you here, Pommy.
Mate, we
And
love,
audience.
mate, we love good ones. Right, okay.
So do
let's clear these up and bring you back on my main screen.
Oh, yeah.
This is so confusing, chat, when you've got 3 screens now. There we are.
Hey. All right.
So I'm ready when you are. You just fire them at me. Where do you want to start?
So we'll start from the back line because it's a good team starts from the back line, Pommy. You have to build up, right? So we're going to go now. You said dinners, right? Now dinners start with an entree, right?
Okay.
So we're going to have 2 lovely entrees and appetizers, right? We're going to go a bruschetta, right? I'll spell that out for you. B-R-U.
I was going to say, you're going to have to help me here. B-R-U.
S-C-H-E-T-T-A. Bruschetta, right?
That's the bread thing, isn't it?
Yep, correct. Yeah, bread with the tomatoes on top. You can put a bit of balsamic, a bit of oregano, salt and pepper. You know, that keep it simple, stupid. Bit of olive oil, bang, and away you go, right? So that can be like our halfback flanker, real slick operator. You know, the oil slick, the balsamic slick, bang, right? Straight down the hatch, easy. Let's go with something that has a bit of kick to it, a bit of saltiness, right? But it's got a bit of meat to the bone, right? So this is our key position entree. We're going to go with calamari, right? But an entree serving of calamari. So we've got some meat.
Mate, a little bit of freaking squid. I like it. Yep. Let's get the reasoning.
So calamari, right? We want a bit of salt and pepper, right? So we've got the basics down pat with the salt and pepper calamari. We've got the batter, which makes it that little bit heavier. And we've got a bit of meat on the bone, but it's not a heavy meat, right? You don't want too many dour defenders back there. You want a key position that can be a bit mobile. So the calamari's mobile, right? And if you're not careful with your fork, mate, it can slide off your plate. That's how mobile it is. So you got to be very careful with the calamari.
You could say it's got legs.
Well played. Very well played. So back bruschetta calamari, that's our entree.
Mate, and I'm impressed you've gone with Italian cuisine and I know what they are. So this is a good start.
We're going to keep
Paso saying Pom's lost. Pom knows what they are.
I think the audience knows what they are too. You've got to go with, it's got to be passionate when you pick this team.
I love it. All right, so we're into the mids. Where do you want to start? Center or wing?
Right, now the mids, of course, now this is our main, right? So we need 3 main dishes, right? So we're going to start with a contested possession, real heavy type of operator. It's going to get stuck right into your guts. We're going to start with a beef lasagna.
I've even spelt it the Italian way.
Well done. So a beef lasagna to start us off, no doubt about it. And then out on the left-hand wing, just going to fly in from the lasagna. I think we're going to go with a pasta carbonara, right? So it's still a little bit heavy, right? But it's lighter than the lasagna. So we're talking probably Blake Acres. Now Blake Acres is tall. He's quite heavy and strong for a winger, but he can still move about, right? So carbonara through the midfield, no doubt about it. And then on the other,
found out that you don't put milk in a carbonara, like
no cream, no milk.
I only found that out like 8 months ago. So
that's okay. It's all right. As long as you found out, mate. As long as you found out, that's all that matters. Okay, now out on the right hand wing, I think we go with. I was umming and ahhing about this, but I'm going to go with something a little lighter here. Now we're going to go with veal scallopini. Veal scallopini. So it's a bit smaller than a carbonara and a lasagna, but we're going to also, how do we spell scallopini is S-C-A.
It's all right, I found it.
You got it? Okay, done. Beautiful.
I was like, I don't want to look like an idiot and spell scallopini like a
veal scallopini. Yep. Right. And the ruck, right? We're not going to go with a big ruck, right? So this is the after dinner thought, right? And the chat has got this down pat, right? But we're going to go with a Caesar salad.
Oh,
we're going to go with the Caesar salad, right? But the Caesar salad is with bacon.
Mate,
so
it makes it
a little bit of meat on the bone. Caesar salad with bacon, right? Love a Caesar salad with bacon. And,
mate,
I'll tell you how we're going to finish this off.
Okay, go on.
Right. So the forwards are your cream, right? The forwards are your dessert. The forwards are your finishers. These are the guys that finish the business, right? We're going to go with tiramisu.
Oh, mate, tiramisu.
Right, tiramisu as our full forward. It's MISU, tiramisu. There you go.
Apologies.
Bang.
Right.
And then as our other forward, my favourite dessert, right? It's the Jack Martin. It's a combination of everything, right? We're going with ricotta cannoli. That's your forward, mate. Ricotta cannoli.
Ricotta cannoli. Jesus.
CANN. Yep. OLI. Bang. There you go.
That sounds amazing. Is that just cheese?
How good is that? How good is that? It's ricotta cannoli is so it's like it's a crunchy fried sort of dough in the round thing, and then you feed the cheese into it. It's sweet cheese, basically. You can put pistachio on it. Bang. We had it last night on the JP with Reece Jones. Ricotta cannoli.
Mate, I'm in. Hey, tell you what, that's a solid team, that chat. I mean, that is the most culturally diverse team we'd seen. That's really good. I mean, look at Faz. Look, ice cream with Milo on top.
Hey, ice cream with Milo on top is fine. But, we're looking for a premiership winning team, Faz. We're not looking for the local under-12s.
Mate, I absolutely love it. I love that team, Paolo. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to making that look pretty because Italians make pretty food. So.
You know what I'll do? I'll just send you a photo of home.
Hey, mate. I like this. Come on, it's like an Italian wedding. It is like literally. That's like I've been invited to an Italian wedding. But we've got the Pombardi Trophy. This is the centre of excellence here, and
yes,
and you can see Harry Mackay leading after his great start. He got the bonus points for being the player of March, the player of April. April will be announced today when we do the votes as well, which will be on the screen tomorrow when I make this look good. But let's do the votes. So as usual, we give 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for the whole week.
Yep.
And we get into it. So, Paolo, do you want to start with your one vote, my friend?
Yeah, I'll start with my one. So my one goes to Nathan Fyfe. Loved his return to form. I thought he was fantastic against the Bulldogs. So he's going to get a bit of love. Winding back the clock, the old Brownlow medalist.
Mate, it was good to see, wasn't it? Like, you forget how good Nat Fyfe was.
Yep. He was sensational on the weekend. I loved his game. I thought he was great.
Mate, I love it. I went with Max Gawn. I thought he was sensational for Melbourne.
Nice.
A victim of his own supremacy, though, because I had 4 above him.
Right. He's a one for him. He plays that game so often, does he? His standards are so high. It's ridiculous. His output is ridiculous. Such a good footballer.
Mate, he is one of a kind. Now, your 2 votes, Paolo.
My 2 going to Jeremy Cameron. I thought he was brilliant against our boys on the weekend. 5 goals, 17 touches. He got up the ground. He did it all. He kicked what was eventually the match-winning goal, and he was ultimately, from a scoring perspective, the difference between the 2 teams.
He was hard to beat, wasn't he? He was hard. Yep. He was very impressive. I did go that game. I went Patrick Cripps. I thought losing performance, but I thought he's probably one of the few players on the pitch that didn't deserve to be a loser that day, because I thought his 4th quarter, he was a hero, and it would be a miss of me not to recognise him in these votes.
Like it. No bias there whatsoever either.
No bias. I've got no more talent players. That's
he was very good. No, he was very good. He was very good on the weekend.
3 votes.
3. Tom Green from GWS. Thought he was brilliant against Brisbane on the weekend. He was back to his absolute best. He kicked a goal as well. He tackled hard. He won his fair share of the ball too. So he had his colours lowered by Cripps a few weeks ago, but he was fantastic against Brisbane. And he's got his own fan club there on the wing as well.
Mate, he's mate, I'm with you as well. I went Tom Green as well. Sensational. I mean, having getting battered by Cripps, and it's fair to say he got battered. I thought it's hard to come back, and against a world-class midfield like Brisbane, he was dominant.
Yeah, no, he was spectacular on the weekend. Yeah, he was brilliant. Such a good footballer. Such a good footballer.
He's very good footballer. Your 4 votes, Paolo?
My 4 votes. Now, this was an interesting one, but I thought just given the way the game was played and the scenario of the game that it was very hard to score in. But I actually really liked his performance coming back from being out against Collingwood. But I'm going to give Charlie Dixon my 4. Against a very, very dour St Kilda team, a team that had 85 players behind the ball, for him to find space and be able to manufacture goals like he did, he gets my 4 votes this week in a low-scoring affair. I think he had something like 4 score involvements. He kicked the goals he needed to. He was dead-eye with his set shots, and he gets 4 votes for me.
Mate, I love it. I went Jeremy Cameron for this one. I thought I give him a bit of stick, but he was sensational. That was Thierry Henry, wasn't it? That was Thierry Henry-esque.
Up and down the wing. He did.
Mate, we could have put 18 men on him, and he would have still done that.
I know. He was crazy good. Crazy good.
You know what, as well, just while we're here, because we're both Carlton men, people slagging off Lewis Young for that.
Good luck.
Fuck me. What's he better do? You could have put Whelan Young.
They don't come in packets.
mate, honestly, he must be a nightmare to defend, because that guy, honestly, he's everywhere. But
we
come to the 5 votes. This is what we're all here for. And who did you go with?
Noah Anderson. I know it was against West Coast, but this kid, I say he's a kid, he's been in the system for a few years now, but he is an absolute F-18 MiG-35 fighter jet, this kid. He was absolutely sensational on the weekend. I think he might have had double-figure clearances, kicked 2 goals, had a heap of the ball. He was a clear standout in that game, and I think he's an absolute dead-set lock to get the 3 votes in that game against West Coast. I absolutely loved his game. I'd love him to play for the Blues. Such a unique, such a versatile type of footballer he can pretty much play everywhere, this kid. I thought he was fantastic. He's going to lead the Suns to something really special, I think.
Mate, I did the same votes as well. mate, I'm a big fan of him. I think he is a very underrated footballer. Yep. And mate, honestly, he's a privilege to watch, isn't he? That midfield they've got going there is absolutely, if we think about it, phenomenal, isn't it? It's starting to take shape.
It is. Pretty good coach as well.
Mate, he's not bad, is he? He's not bad. So, by my count, if we get rid of this, so I can tell you that the winner of Player of the Month getting the 2 bonus votes is Jeremy Cameron.
There we go.
Wait, let's have a look. Jeremy Cameron, where has he gone up to? 17.
17, yep.
I think it might be Sam Walsh, but I will double check that tomorrow when I go through the individual systems. But we can see what that's done to the leaderboard, and that has done that. So Cripps should be. Why is Cripps not coming up there?
Where is he? He's down there somewhere. He's down there somewhere. I think I did see him down below with double figures.
He's got 12. So Cripps is there. I'll recalibrate this. But Harry Mackay, one of these 2, Jeremy Cameron or Sam Walsh, will get 2 bonus votes when it's tallied up tomorrow. I do think off the top of my head it is Sam Walsh, though. Matt Rowe, Tom Green, could be interesting who takes this out with the 2-vote system, but Harry has finally been caught.
Yeah, maybe after this weekend, after he kicks 7 on Friday, he'll be out right first.
Mate, we hope so. But Paolo, thank you very much for joining us. What are you doing this week, mate?
Okay, so we have got, just to give the station a bit of a pump up. So tomorrow for me, it is a whole day worth of racing. at SEN track. So it'll be morning all the way through to evening. Friday, we have Blues Radio returning. So Andy will be heading that up. Chris, Ange and Kruder will be part of the call as well. So that's fantastic. Then this weekend, we've got Premier League action on the station, which I'll be looking after, which will be great. And then next Tuesday will be jumper punch as usual, mate. Fan cams after the game on Friday night. There's plenty going on. So I kind of don't know where to start and where to finish with all of this. So no, it's going to be a big weekend, a lot of fun. We've gone 1 from 2 so far with the rivalry. Arsenal getting the job done over Spurs. Hopefully Carlton can get it done over Collingwood on Friday night, my man. Be great.
Mate, big game. Big game. I can't wait for this game because, honestly, it's without a shadow of a doubt, it's the biggest rivalry in AFL, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not even a question, I'd have thought. It really is football heritage when you think about
football
it.
Heritage.
It really is football heritage. Colonel, Mackay, Cripps, Akers.
Maybe in a few years when Voss has won 3.
Yeah, he can go through it. These are all investments of the past.
Yeah, I just hope he loses it as Carlton go for a rebuild and go 3-1. 3 titles. Voss brings out his Mediterranean heritage.
Oh, mate, wonder. Well, he's already got the sauce bottles, so he can go one step further and go Jose. I just want someone to give it. Someone has to give it the large. Pouring rain, goes out with his, wet, sodden Carlton polo, and he just gives it the shush on an away game. But anyway, hopefully Arsenal win the league, El Paso. Chelsea, I don't think Chelsea fans can comment. Not at the moment, anyway.
Mate, these Chelsea fans, mate, they get into it, mate. They get into it. Mate, mate, thank you very much for joining me. We love you to pieces, Paul, and we will no doubt see you soon in one of these other shows. But thank you very much for joining us, and stay safe, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow with the preview. I think that's what's on the schedule. I don't know. I'll do something.
You've got teams, don't you?
No, I don't do teams anymore. That's just a Terry thing.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Terry and
I have the night off.
That's all right. You need a night off, mate.
So now, I have Melton football training. That's what I have.
Oh, right. Okay. There you go.
I cover that. So that's what I do on Thursday nights. But see you all later, chat. Much love and go Blues.